thing that bothered me a bit in the film, which was the
Me.
You, Johnny, you.
Yeah. Oh, I had the same problem.
Yeah. Unwatchable.
Yeah, I know.
No.
I had the same problem with every film I do.
There you go.
Isn't that weird?
No, it's
we should
about
probably move in together, shouldn't we? We see
What's
eye
that?
to eye, don't we?
What's that?
You and I.
Yep. Hey, I was an actor for a while. If
Where
you
are you
need a
going with
stand-in,
this, man?
I'm in.
Are you? Is
What's that?
this like a weird pickup?
It is.
Focus.
It's not going very well.
I think it's going very well, actually.
Yeah.
I am intrigued. I am.
Well, what is it? The question is about the...
Come forward, young man.
I will. Find me afterwards. I'll be in the bathroom.
Are you selling tickets?
What's happening?
in the bathroom.
All right. Somehow veering my
What are
way
you going
back
to be
on
doing
the
in the
track.
bathroom now?
Yeah.
I'm not turned
okay.
on anymore, by the way.
What's that?
I'm not turned on anymore.
Okay.
All right,
Close.
keep going. What?
It was a good
what?
try. Okay, I want to ask you about the portrayal of Puerto Ricans in the film. To me, it seemed like there were a lot of violent men and sort of sexualized women, and that bothered me a bit. I'm curious whether that was something you were concerned about, or what your thoughts are on that.
Is your feeling that the Puerto Ricans portray themselves badly?
No,
I mean the Puerto Ricans in the film, because they were actually Puerto Rican actors.
I guess
actually-
I'm just curious about in the writing of the film when you were creating some of those secondary characters. How did you conceive of them, and was that something that you thought about?
I think really the film. I mean, you know, at its core is you know what enraged Hunter was the idea of the despoilization of a paradise. You know, when Cuba, for example, in '59 was no longer available to the U.S. government. Where do they go? Puerto Rico. What's next? Let's take it. Let's take it. Let's have it. Let's chew it up. Let's churn it out. And so essentially, I mean, that's really what was going on. But I don't see anything in the film that is misrepresentative to Puerto Rico or to Puerto Ricans at all. I think it represents very, very well the truth, in the sense that this horrific capitalist monster was coming in there with, you know, gnashing teeth, and it commenced around then, and they're still gnashing, you know.
Yeah.
You know.
You just shook your head when he asked the question. So do you want to comment or
Well,
move on?
yeah. If I may.
We're going to see him in the bathroom later, don't we?
Yeah, we can have a follow-up discussion.
Both of us.
Discussion.
What will he do? The whole thing, which is the motor drive of the movie in a sense, is, you know, when you see West Side Story and you see these gangs in New York who were basically Hispanic gangs. What happened in the 1950s is that the US moved into Puerto Rico with the United Fruit Corporation, and everyone who worked there on, you know, pineapples or whatever it was, were thrown out of work because the equipment moved in, and now it was big business. And so the Puerto Ricans suddenly found themselves, after 500 years, having no jobs. Nothing to do. They couldn't do the fruit anymore, and then they moved to New York, and that is West Side Story, you know. And then it's the same thing in England, you know. We fuck them up, and then they come over here to our country, and then we kind of are critical of them finding work in our country, and that's exactly what happened in Puerto Rico. It was a very, very bad time in the 50s and 60s for the Puerto Ricans, you know. They were really torn to bits as a society. Anyway, fuck it.
Thanks.
He's made me have coffee, too.
Do you think this is too much of a repeat here from Trey Morgan at Fort Hays State University, or you want to? We can all vote on this.
It
We
is-
want to
I
take
mean-
the Fort Hays State University question. How is your approach to portray a younger Hunter S. Thompson different than your previous portrayal in Fear and Loathing? Was it more challenging this time?
We've answered that one.
I think we've covered the ground, but I mean, of course, yeah, it was infinitely more challenging because it was a kind of a version or a sliver of Hunter that I had to discover, you know, after he'd already made his exit, you know.
So over to this side.
Hi. I have a question for Mr. Robinson. What's one of the most important things in screenwriting you think anyone interested in getting into the field should know and consider when writing?
You should all see and read Withnell and I, for starters.
Oh,
That is
seven
a
people have.
That's I'm sorry. Withnell and I is I swear to you, like in the top 3 films of my absolute all-time favorites. You know, up there with To Have and Have Not and Time of the Gypsies. Withnell and I is a must-see, and if you guys don't have a copy, I'll send each one of you one.
Oh, it's an Oprah moment. Okay. Not a car for everybody, but a
And you know what? I'll make coffee in the morning as well as waffles. Go ahead.
She's looking for screenwriting
Oh,
guru tips.
oh.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. It's a good question.
No, it is a good question. Christ, what do? The only thing I do when I try and write a script is to see it as a big picture, and I have a big wall in my writing room where I just write down ideas all the time. Then I suffer because it's incredibly difficult. It's a real